Yes, thank you, Sam. And on behalf of ODI, I do apologise for the rather poor communication link. I hope the excellent presentation helped you to follow Sam's compelling message. But perhaps if you can pick up from there, Anna.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Sam. And yeah, again, apologies for the poor line. I hope that we sort of managed to convey some of the findings. I want to sort of build on the conclusions. I wanted to sort of put forward the three central recommendations that came out for the research. They're about providing information and facilitating public and policy debate on climate change and encouraging accountability. I'm going to take each one of those at a turn, but they're the three sort of key recommendations that are coming out of Africa Talks Climate. So providing information, we think that governments, NGOs and the media do need access to information and knowledge on the issue that is credible but also very much centred to their own context if they are to communicate and engage with citizens effectively. On the facilitating public and policy debate, the recommendations are that sort of citizens need to understand the implications for their lives to be able to respond effectively. The opportunity to engage in community-led, regional or national public debate about the issues most relevant to them will help them to harness and create an African discourse on climate change, one that should have immediate benefits for those communities involved, as well as opening up vital dialogue and voice to the rest of the world. Discussing the risks, possible courses of action, and sharing of best practice, whether that be around adaptation or mitigation, should also encourage two-way communication and learning around these issues. And finally, in terms of encouraging accountability, a really strong, collective and localised and context-specific understanding of climate change, we feel is necessary if African citizens and their representatives are able to communicate their own perspectives and demands to their governments, but also importantly to the rest of the world. So they're the three main recommendations. In terms of, I want us to think about next steps and why we're here today. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we really are delighted that we could share and Sam could be part of this debate. And we're really grateful for Sally Ann to join us. Sally has already used the research findings in some of her work, and I'm delighted that sort of 3 months into producing the research that it's already been practically applied, which I'm sure she's going to elaborate on a little bit more. And it's our hope that it's going to be used by a range of actors in Africa and outside in terms of planning future work in this area. A central objective of Africa Talks Climate was to provide an evidence base. And it was the first step in developing long-term strategies of sharing information about climate change and to support all of those charged with communicating on climate change, whether that be the media, whether that be international organisations, governments, NGOs, community leaders or religious leaders, as we pointed out. I wanted to share with you some quotes from the launch in Nairobi. And we think this is sort of an exciting benchmark, if you like, or baseline for where we can start. In Kenya, for example, with the Prime Minister sort of talking about this as opening eyes and to see where the future could go in terms of helping people to understand this issue. Equally, Professor Wangari Maathai was picking up on the issue that Sam mentioned, which is about language and how that at the moment is a challenge. And talking to journalists within the BBC Swahili service and across the BBC, I think this is coming out as a central issue as well, and one that we were keen to explore further moving forward. As the BBC World Service Trust, as Sam mentioned, we're not climate change experts, but our role is about communicating effectively, understanding audiences and supporting the media and those charged with communicating on climate change to do so in a way that's relevant and accessible. As experts in the field of using media and communications for development, I think we're sort of also uniquely placed and keen to focus on helping to clarify how the role of the media can be better understood and more appropriately positioned within climate change strategies. We've been involved in supporting support to media in many countries and are keen to see greater clarity and a more systematic approach to supporting the media to deliver on a more effective communication around climate change. The need to work closely on this is born out of a central contradiction that the research identifies. While media representatives acknowledge that they are a central conduit to which audiences understand this issue, they also recognise that they themselves are struggling to fill that role. We also think that, as I mentioned earlier, the media can have a central role in helping to create dialogue globally on this issue. And the local, context-specific climate change issues are rarely prioritised, and the climate change content, which appears is generally tied to global UN negotiations, and as an opportunity for that to change. We look forward to working with others in the sector, in the wider climate change and international development community, to see how we can usefully develop comprehensive strategies to engage the media in more effective ways. There's much more detail in the individual country reports and the exec summary, but I hope we've given you a taster for what Africa Talks Climate was trying to achieve. Thank you.